I'm glad that we started this podcast the way you did, because one thing that I would want somebody to take away from this is like, just because we're officers doesn't mean we don't got problems. Like, doesn't mean we don't got struggles. I had major issues. I had major problems. And when I left active duty and I did my reserve time, somewhere in there, life was hard for me. Life was hard, and I fell into a deep, deep state of depression. And I had my run-ins with suicidal thoughts. And I went through, I've been divorced twice, and I couldn't reconcile how I could lead Marines, but I could not lead my own household. And so it was this dark, dark secret that I had, and nothing made sense up here. And I remember standing in front of my Marines one day, 180 of them, and I gave them this typical brief on a Friday. If you've on your way out the door, don't drink, don't drive. If you're going to drink, have a plan, blah, blah, blah. I still got it memorized in my head. But then part of that was, if you need help, raise your hand, call Military One Source, whatever. There was one particular Friday when I said those words. I released the Marines. I about-faced walked right into the colonel's office. And I said, "Sir, I need a step down from command." So what are you talking about? I said, I just told 180 Marines that if they need help, call Military One Source, and I know I'm the one that needs to make that call. He said, what? And so I ultimately checked myself into the VA hospital to get the help that I needed. And it was a secret that I kept from everybody. During that time, I was sleeping in my car. I was going from one 24-hour fitness to another just so I could take a shower. I was coming to drill so that I could get some food, so that I can get a paycheck from my drill weekend. It was difficult. The civilian life was hard. I was away from my kids. I was up in NorCal. My kids were here. Like, my whole life was turned upside down. So even though I wasn't necessarily homeless sleeping in a tent, but I was sleeping in my car for weeks as a secret, I did have an experience with the homeless community. I'm sharing this for two reasons. One is because, again, officers are not exempt from life's problems. We got issues too. I did. I raised my hand and I asked for help. I got the help that I needed. The Marine Corps took care of me, more than took care of me. The VA took care of me. Standing up on my own 2 feet, realizing how easy this could be for any one of us to become homeless, for any one of us to have suicidal thoughts, for any one of us to be struggling internally. I said, you know what? I need to help others. And that's why I started Camis and Canines, was to help other homeless veterans. And one thing led to another. When I went from, I was just walking up and down sidewalks and literally cutting hair, providing free haircuts to homeless folks on the street, doing it because it filled this part of my soul. And I was selling dog collars and leashes, $20 a unit. I was saving all that money, creating care packages and trying to help homeless veterans. I was feeding my soul. Really what I was doing was, it was filling my mission, my purpose, which is to help others, to be part of community. Same way I was when I was an active duty Marine, is taking care of the families, taking care of the Marines. That's the part that I needed to continue on here today. So that's why I started a group called Camis and Canines. And then along the way, there was some awesome people that came into my life who helped me get Camis and Canines off the ground. Ultimately got this ridiculously sized ranch, 289 acres.
I saw that. I was so jealous. Oh my God, that was crazy.
Yeah. But we got it. Why? God, man, the universe. When you're putting good out into the universe, it comes back. If you want to succeed as an entrepreneur, the number one ingredient to success is make sure that whatever you're entrepreneuring is tied to putting goodness out into the community. As long as you're not hurting anybody, taking advantage of anybody, you're allowed to get paid for your value. You are worth something. Don't undervalue yourself, but don't be taken from people. Don't be hurting people along the way. And if you can abide by that, then I promise you, whatever it is you're doing is going to be successful, right? So
love that.
Yeah. So anyways, I did my thing with Canines and Canines. I'm proud to say under my time, under my belt there, we rescued and housed 27 homeless veterans. Eventually I had to step aside. I was getting burnt out. And I had to take care of Kalani. So charity starts at home. And you got to take care of yourself. You got to take care of your family before you can be out in the world doing all this good stuff. So anyways, got my mind right. And then one day I was hanging out with my dad out in his backyard in Riverside and throwing some horseshoes around. And
Okay.
And he says, or I told him, why don't you build a tiny house back here? And he's like, why the hell would I do that? I said, because I would imagine you could finance it somehow, but you rent it out and get that rental income. And if you have this net gain called cash flow, then that can help you pay your existing mortgage. And just like that, I found myself in my first tiny home project. So here we are today. I did like anybody else would. I picked up the phone and called an architect. I picked up the phone and called a general contractor. And thinking that they would have the answers and just help guide me along the way. And they were willing to. They were willing to help guide me, but it was going to cost. And
did you figure that the same thing happened to me? I was asking about like steel houses, just like different, like how much it costs to do this. Like the first 3 people I called, they said that I had to, they were talking like a significant amount of money just for information.
Yeah.
I was like, nah, we're not doing that.
So I did. I threw down some money, got looped into some long ass drawn out system that was just going to cost me money. And I was smart enough to catch it on the front end, and I aborted mission real quick. I picked up the books. I did all the reading I needed to and got smart on tiny homes, which I learned are called ADUs, accessory dwelling units. And I got hooked. I just kept reading the rules. And the more I read about it, the more opportunity I saw. And I was like, oh my gosh, why isn't every backyard, why isn't anybody else doing this? And I realized it's either A, because they don't know about the ADU opportunity and the benefits it brings them. And if they did, they have no idea where to start, like me. And they picked up the phone and got hooked up with some architect who's taking advantage of them. Here, let me tell you this, put this out to the world. California ADUs are limited to 2 floors. Okay? Can only do 2 stories high. In California, if it's 2 stories or below, it does not require an architect. Period. Yep. Period. So I saw this opportunity. I saw how people were doing business, and I said, you know what? I'm going to do things a little bit differently. This was the entrepreneur in me that I didn't know existed. I just wanted to be of service. So I was like, I think I'll just go out there and put out some blogs and make some videos and educate people about ADUs. And I went to an architect and I said, hey, if I create business for you, if I educate folks and bring them in here, can we take care of them? Would that be of value to you? Would you pay me for it? And just like that, I created my own job.